morning, children. Let's learn the lesson, the Kabuliwala. Okay, this is the 10th lesson of English second, and you know about the author, even if I don't see. Rabindranath Tagore, you know him well, so I'm not going to tell a lot of details about the author, but take page number 104 and listen. Rabindranath Tagore, a Bengali writer who won the Nobel Prize for Literature, wrote novels, essays, short stories, travelogues, dramas, and numerous songs. However, he is perhaps best known for his lyrical poetry. Tagore also founded the Vishwa University. Okay, children, since you know he's a Nobel Prize winner in literature field, you know there are different categories, and literature he has won the Nobel Prize, and his works are in many-sided fields. There is stories, essays, novels, short stories, travelogues, etc. Okay, and we know his famous poetry, that is Gita Anjali. It will be familiar to you. Okay, let's learn the lesson, that is Kabuliwala. It is a story, short story written by Kabuliwala, and it tells something about the nation's picture in the time of Rabindranath Tagore. Okay, let's come to the lesson. Minnie, my 5-year-old daughter, cannot stop talking even for a minute. She learned to speak when she was a young year old and has not wasted a single minute in silence ever since. Her mother sometimes calls her, and that keeps her quiet for a while, but a silent Minnie seems so very unnatural that I cannot bear it long. Okay, in the beginning of the story, the character is being described here is Minnie. Minnie, that is the narrator's 5-year-old daughter, and she is very talkative. In the first sentence itself, it's described that she is a very talkative girl, and she learned to speak when she was a year old and has not wasted a single minute in silence ever since. That means after she started to talk, she was talking continuously and no one can stop her. She is such a talkative girl. Her mother sometimes called her, and that keeps her quiet for a while. But her silent minute seems so very unnatural that I cannot bear it long. That means even they feel that she wants to speak. You know that if there are children in your family, definitely your parents and they needed the children's presence. When they are not talking, they will feel that the house is like sleeping, isn't it? And here, even the narrator wanted her to talk because she was always talking. One morning, I was working on the 17th chapter of my novel. Minnie sat at my feet playing. My study faced the main road. Suddenly, Minnie rushed to the window, shouting, Kabuliwala! Hey, Kabuliwala! Okay, and what is happening here? One fine morning, this narrator is a writer, and he was writing a novel, and it was the 17th chapter of his novel, and she was beside the author or the narrator, and he's telling that my study faced the main road. That means his room was just facing to the main road, and while he was writing, he heard this voice from her daughter. What is that? Kabuliwala. Hey, Kabuliwala. Kabuliwala, that is a common noun that is used for the person who is selling things, going from house to house. Even now, they are here in our midst. Okay, and in Bengali language, definitely that's the meaning of it. And when he looked, what did he see? A tall Afghan was passing by. This was an Afghan. He wore a dirty loose robe and a turban. He carried a box of grapes in his hand and a large bag slung across his shoulder. He heard her call and turned towards our house smiling. Instantly, Minnie's curiosity gave way to alarm and she vanished indoors. She was convinced that inside the Kabuliwala's bag were imprisoned little children like herself. Okay, what was the whom did the narrator see? It was an Afghan, and his dress was a dirty loose robe and a turban. Okay, I can imagine such a picture. He carried a box of grapes in his hand. Okay, and while he was walking, he must be holding something to sell. One box of grapes was there in his hand, and also a large bag slung. And definitely, our parents or the elders will be threatening the children by telling that those who are passing by, you have to be careful, they'll be taking the children. Okay, and she also might have been told by her parents in such a way. That's why she thought that what is there inside the bag is it must be the children. Okay, the Kabuliwala came up to the house, greeted me, and stood smiling. I could not send him away without buying anything, so I chose a few things while he talked to me. His name was Abdul Rahman, though everyone called him Rahmat. Before leaving, he asked, Babu, where did your little girl go? And this Kabuliwala saw that little Minnie was there, and he came to the house, and these two people, narrator and Kabuliwala, had a conversation. And definitely, the narrator is a good person, so he thought that he wanted to buy something because his daughter only called him inside, and they talked. Meanwhile, he introduced himself. His name was Abdul Rahman from Afghan, and he was called Rahmat. And before leaving, he asked, Babu, where did your little girl go? What is your little girl? I thought Minnie should get over her face. I sent for her. She stood close to me, glancing suspiciously at the Kabuliwala and his enormous bag. The man held out some dry fruits to her, but Minnie refused to take them. This was their first meeting. Okay, and definitely the narrator told that if she has a chance to meet this man, she will be get rid of her fear of strangers. So he called for this her, and she came close to the father, and definitely the seller. He gave some dry fruits to her, but she refused because her parents later told that you should not buy anything from strangers, just like our parents tell. A few days later, I found my little daughter sitting near the door, talking non-stop in her usual manner, while the Kabuliwala sat at her feet listening, a broad smile on his face. He occasionally made a reply in his uneven Bengali. Never before had Minnie come across such a patient listener other than her father. Okay, and the days passed by, and after a few days, what did the narrator see? These two were talking, the little daughter and Kabuliwala. She was continuously talking, but then Kabuliwala was listening to whatever she tells, and definitely since he listened and enjoyed her conversation, his face was broad, had a broad smile. And also, he replied in Bengali. And the narrator is commenting that never before had he seen that Minnie is, the Minnie had such a patient listener than her father. He only will be listening to his daughter. No others will be listening because She was continuously talking, so no one paid attention. And this is the first instance that he sees one stranger listening to his daughter. I learned that this was not their second meeting. The Kabuliwala had been to see many moves every day, almost every day. And with the help of bribes like nuts and dry fruits, he had managed to conquer her little heart to no small extent. Okay, and when he saw they talking, the narrator understood that it may not be the second time. First time, do you remember when was it? When the stranger was going, and when while she was sitting beside her father, she was calling Kabuliwala, Kabuliwala, and after that, this narrator hadn't seen this man anymore, but this daughter used to see him, and he understood that from the conversation, he understood that this was not their second meeting, and he understood that almost every day they are meeting, and definitely he gave nuts and dry fruits, so they became friends. These two friends had some stock conversations and jokes. For instance, as soon as she saw Rahmat, my daughter laughed and asked, Kabuliwala, what's inside your bag? Okay, and definitely they became friends. They enjoyed each other's conversation, they had jokes to exchange, and that means their friendship grew. And sometimes, occasionally, Rahmat would ask, sorry, Rahmat will be talking while the daughter asked, Kabuliwala, what is there inside your bag? What did she believe before that? She thought that it must be the children. And now she doesn't believe. That is why she's asking, what is there inside your bag? Rahmat, in his turn, would grin and reply, an elephant. Okay, and what was his reply? Oh, something is there like elephant. That there was an elephant inside his bag was the subtle meaning of the joke. I can't say that it was particularly subtle, yet this joke amused both of them considerably, and I too enjoyed the innocent laughter of a grown up and a child on an autumn morning. Okay, and when he said this joke, both of them used to laugh. Okay, what does the author tell? That there was an elephant inside his bag was it subtle? What is the meaning of subtle? Delicate, not easy to understand or explain. That means he doesn't want to say what are the things inside the bag. Instead, he said that joke. Anyway, both of them laughed by hearing it. I can't say that it was particularly subtle, yet this joke amused both of them considerably. And I too enjoyed the innocent laughter of a grown up and a child on an autumn morning. That means the author was enjoying how this conversation was going on. Okay. One day, I was working in my room when I heard a commotion outside. I looked out and saw two policemen dragging our Rahmat. They had tied his hands. There were bloodstains on Rahmat's clothes, and one of the policemen was holding a blood-stained knife. I went outside and stopped them. What's the matter? I asked. Okay, and this way their friendship was going on growing. But one day, what happened? One day, I was working in my room when I heard a commotion. What is the meaning of commotion? That means a fighting, just like a fight, some kind of sound outside. I looked out and saw two policemen dragging our Rahmat. They had tied his hands, and that means almost he was arrested by two policemen. They were with him. There were bloodstains on Rahmat's clothes. Okay, unlike other days, his dress was covered with blood. and one of the policemen was holding a blood-stained knife. I went outside and stopped them. What's the matter? I asked. Okay, and this was something unusual because the author or the narrator hadn't found any type of misbehavior from this stranger. But here you see, he was definitely he might have killed someone, all right, because he had a blood-stained knife in his hand. The police had taken this knife and it is with him. And that is why the narrator came out and asked, what is the matter? What happened? Okay, and here we stop. The next class will be sent in the next week. Okay, thank you, children. I'll send the meanings to you.